Now you'll meet Brandon Oliver, the Director of Marketing and Communications at East Central Independent School District. He's giving us information and resources for social media safety and responsibility. Plus, you'll learn about the related district-wide campaign planned for early March. Welcome to the press room.
I'm excited.
So who are you, where are you from, and what do you do at East Central ISD?
So my name is Brandon Oliver, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at East Central ISD. And we handle primarily all the communications that go in and out of the district to the community that involve social media, or the district social media accounts, but as well as the website, the communications to parents, press releases, photography, videography. I mean, we do it all. Publications there. So there's a lot to do. It's a big district.
It is, and it's growing.
So, it is. We're expected to double our population. Definitely increase it by about 7,000 to 8,000 by 2030.
Oh my gosh, and that's only 7 years away.
That is only 7 years away, which, going back to, we just had a bond recently that passed, but, that will be beneficial to the entire district community because it adds more schools, it adds security, upgrades for other buildings that are well needed for it. And so, we need to keep up with the pending growth.
Absolutely, you do. And so as the Director of Marketing and Communications, or MarCom, as it says on the website,
yes.
You must know a lot about social media. So let's kind of talk about social media safety from the point of view of a youth, maybe someone at East Central ISD. What is generally safe to share?
So, first of all, I have to say, in dealing with the district's families and students, I've noticed, we know the different audience breakdowns of social media, the Facebook, they call it old book now, right?
Yeah.
But Facebook is, primarily the parents and the grandparents. Twitter was a little bit mixed, but not so many kids on there. But Instagram, by far as the district social media goes, is the most popular amongst the younger generation, amongst the students. Right. And now there's another one out there, TikTok, but we don't have an official TikTok. Yeah. But that is equally as popular. And there's some other apps too. But dealing with Instagram and handling the messages and comments and interaction on there, some of the kids that have social media are in elementary school that already have an Instagram account or a TikTok account.
Yeah.
And so, there needs to be a greater emphasis on social media use. I think it's kind of joined in with how the tablet or the iPad has raised kids nowadays.
Tablet kids.
Yeah, they hand them a tablet and they watch YouTube or whatever. The thing about it is that they're delving deeper, and every youth generation has its curious kind that want to push that modern technology even further. When I was in school, I'm not going to say when, but I'll just say Stranger Things does an exceptional job of capturing this generation. Yeah. We were pushing the boundaries of what was available at the time, the big old videotape recorders and VCRs. We were in charge of programming it, usually for our families, right?
Super fun.
Just things like that. We were the first ones that had video game systems, and whatnot. And so every successive generation takes its tech and pushes it even further. Yeah. And so it is kind of shocking when you see elementary kids already with an Instagram. And, you do wonder how much responsibility is being taken over the child's Instagram. Obviously some things that a child, should not share on their social media is, their location, I would even say photographs, being really careful of, who else is in them, just giving away general personal information. But the really scarier side of that is a lot of these applications have direct messaging.
Yeah.
And so there's an issue with that in the direct messaging where, when you post something that's out there and then there's a couple of comments, and generally you can see that. The direct messaging is, one where they take it even a step further with a personal engagement. And so that's really where a lot of the scary stuff can occur. And, where, a devious entity might, fish for information and try to attain personal information, and even worse. And so, we always advocate for parents that, not only check, the surface of your child's account, see what they're posting, see who their friends are, who are they following, but also delve into this direct messaging as well is very important.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because unfortunately there are predators, and
there are predators, and not only that, but just also in like I said, dealing with the district social media, the kids don't understand their digital footprint that they leave behind. And so what occurs is they think, even with the district social media account, they'll talk in slang, they'll use curse words, they'll use other things because they think, oh, I'm just talking to some like faceless entity, and there's no accountability. And so, without, as opposed to face. And so, most people get braver behind a keyboard, behind a phone, and say things that they probably would not say in person. And kids are no different. And so I'm surprised sometimes when they do message the district's accounts, the types of language that they're using, types of slang that they're using, and that they're not using it in such a way that, they need to understand that this is a digital footprint.
Right.
And so what you direct message somebody, what you post, what you send out has long-lasting effects. And so, it's kind of interesting. And yes, there is a definite predator side, and there's a definite very shady and disgusting side of it. And I think that's been pretty well covered, I think.
Yeah.
But I think what's missing, though, in the social media responsibility talk is the actual engagement between accounts, or between people on, a platform like that.
Right.
And so, you're getting pictures that, might be offensive or might be considered bullying. There's always accounts that we try to shut down that have pages like, it says East Central Fights or Caught in the Act, right? And so it's like embarrassing photos of kids caught in the act, or, recordings of fights, whether they were on our campus or not, or in our district, or, even dated. So, we're constantly running into those accounts and having to, try to shut them down. So it's a lot of it isn't just little Joey has a social media account. A lot of them are making fake profiles or making secondary profiles in which to have this kind of, I don't want to say a second life, but kind of, right?
Yeah.
Where, little Joey has his Instagram account or whatever, that the parents, I could see his friends, I could see who's following, who she's following, he's following, but they're making little offshoot accounts. And that's another thing that we're noticing becoming more and more of a trend, is those offshoot accounts and them being reckless with those accounts.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of it goes into the social media responsibility in terms of monitoring, which we'll get to in a second.
Right.
Not only what the district can do, because it's a shared responsibility. So not only what the district can do to help, but also what parents can do as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So we talked a lot just recently about social media responsibility. How would you define that? And are there any like pillars?
Well, I'll start from social media responsibility. Again, your digital footprint is recorded, right?
Right.
And so you hear a lot of talk about things being tracked, I know that there was a conspiracy theory of the COVID vaccination would track you and things like that.
Right.
But the reality is nothing tracks you more than your mobile device. And, it's even odd, I find sometimes when I discuss, something with someone,
Right.
and then get on my Facebook and then scroll and there's an ad for it.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
super creepy.
And I mean, that's not by accident. And
Right.
so, there's nothing that tracks your location, your personal information, anything more than your mobile device, right? And it's important to have a mobile device. And I know a lot of parents feel even a bigger sense of urgency after Uvalde to make sure that their child has a cell phone. That way they can reach them at all times. And we certainly understand that. But there comes a time where you need to be responsible of, your actions, especially leaving a digital footprint. And so even though you think, I'm just having fun or I'm just joking or something like that, it does have consequences. And so it's a shared responsibility. There are tools that the district does and continues to do and bring about awareness of, and should a student cross the line and do something that violates the student code of conduct or violates the Texas Education Code or the Texas Penal Code, in some situations, then you're talking legal, right? And you're talking big ramifications at that point.
Absolutely.
But it also in the home needs to have accountability too. And so as we mentioned, I'm a parent myself of a high school teen, and it is easy to give them a piece of technology, iPad or phone, and that keeps them quiet. That keeps them entertained for a little bit, whatever. But there needs to be still responsibility of that particular device. Now, the easiest way for a parent to, hold their student or their child accountable is to just check the phone, right? And so I'll tell parents a lot of times, it's okay to check the phone. It's more than likely in your name, right? If the child is a minor, and so it's okay because what happens is if a child does something wrong, social media wise or on their device, it's in the parent's name. So when and I could tell you, we just did this recently, and I'm sure you'll probably touch on the subject a little bit, but we've done it recently where we've had to look at someone's digital footprint and use legal ways in order to obtain that information, and it leads to the parent or grandparent that is the account holder of the phone. And so that's first and foremost, it's just like keeping house, right? If it's your house, you're going to manage it, right? Whether it's your own children or you have guests, you're going to manage your home. You're not just going to let the child roam free around their home and paint the walls without any sort of consequence. Well, it's the same thing with the phone. You do, I think, as a parent, not talking even as a school employee, but just as a parent, have a sense of responsibility to make sure that your child is safe on the phone. Not only are them not doing anything wrong, predators, scammers, things like that, making contact, and just to make sure of that. So that's first and foremost. I tell parents it's okay. If it's in your name too, check that phone. Now I know a lot of parents that the older kids do have some issues. Sometimes we'll run into a grandparent that says, my high schooler won't let me check the phone, and they can easily overpower me and things of that nature. We've ran into that, and so there are apps available out there that monitor remotely for the parent or for the grandparent or the guardian that can help with that. There's settings on Instagram that can help supervise that and limit exposure time, and you can see who they're following and who's asking to follow them. So there's various tools out there, and we'll talk about that in a second, I'm sure. And just a quick Google search will show you tools that you can use to monitor your child's devices. So I don't want to say there's pillars per se. I mean, you could probably bring in another social media expert and they would
Sure.
lay that out. I think for East Central, what we're trying to just get across is that it's a shared responsibility, and to make sure that the kids are not getting in trouble, but also trouble is not finding them.
Right.
And it's a responsibility that we all have together. No one's absolved of it. The district is not absolved of it. The parents are not absolved of it. We're all in it together to make sure that the child is taken care of.
We've mentioned some consequences to irresponsible behavior on social media. Can you give a couple of examples?
So, we have, had instances where a child and then again, when you think of social media users, you tend to think high school kids, right? Like that's just kind of the perception is high school kids have Instagram, high school kids have TikTok, and that's not the reality. The reality is there's a lot of elementary and middle school kids that are on Instagram and TikTok, a lot. And so, and they don't have the maturity and the awareness to understand, fully grasp the digital footprint and the consequences of their actions.
Right.
And so you'll get a situation where perhaps a child will, I'm just joking, but they'll make some sort of threat to another student, to the campus itself, to an administrator, whatever the case may be. And they don't think anything wrong. I'm just on Instagram. And even maybe under a fake profile, like I said, we were talking about those offshoot profiles. Like there's little Joey's account, but he's got like 2 or 3 other little offshoot ones.
Right.
Thinking that, I can get away with it. And the thing about it is now with the increased scrutiny of school security, and it really started after 9/11, but then the increased school security really pushed this too, is that there is a lot of partnerships within the community that enable us to locate your digital footprint and track you down. Mm-hmm. And so that involves not just the East Central Police Department, and they also do a fantastic job, as well as our administrators, but SAPT, Barrett County sheriffs, and then even going federally, there's the Fusion Center. They're able to, get into and track down information about people on their devices. If the situation calls for it, and it calls for that level. Mm-hmm. And so even though, they can use someone else's device, or they can, make a fake profile or something like that, they can narrow down to location of the person, to the device of the person, to the messages that were sent out. I mean, now at the federal level and even at the state level, these resources are so advanced that now they're able to, track this down. And so in the past, whereas, perhaps maybe, an elementary kid might be joking, right? And in the past, maybe it was dealt with differently. Maybe, it was just simply calling in the child to, talk about social media responsibility. Mm-hmm. Now there's full legal consequences towards it, including jail time, expulsion from school, and things of that nature. Whatever is according to the Texas Education Code as well as the Texas Penal Code. And people are wanting, parents are wanting results, right? They don't, it's now reached this level where it's no longer appropriate to just kind of scold the child. Now parents are wanting, I want to, push to the maximum of those two codes. What is the maximum, punishment?
Right.
And understandably so when you look at all the, mass shootings. Yeah. It's understandable, and you want your school to be safe.
That all being said, you've talked a lot about how East Central ISD is taking steps to teach their kids about social media responsibility and safety. So tell us about this March campaign that you have planned.
So in March, at the beginning of March, the week of March 6th, we're having a social media responsibility week. There's going to be lessons within the curriculum taught that week about social media responsibility. So in the classrooms, they'll be getting lessons about that.
Wow.
Athletics, all the teams and the coaches will be discussing social media responsibility. Because we ran into situations where athletes, abused social media.
Yeah.
And so, so athletics will do that. We'll host a Facebook and a YouTube Live with a legal expert and some counselors and things like that to kind of give a big picture to the entire thing. And then we're also having a grandparents raising kids event. And so they will be going over social media responsibility because, grandparents, probably aren't as tech savvy,
Right.
or if they are, it's just like top of the line Facebook type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And not into the TikTok and Instagram, which is where the kids are going. And there's other platforms too, but we're really focusing on, as a district, Instagram and TikTok. Those seem to be the two most popular platforms that kids, like I said, from elementary through high school, it's not just high school, it's elementary all the way through high school, that are using and misusing. And so, we want to, bring about that awareness, not just to the kids. It's important that the kids learn it.
Right.
But as a community, we all bond together over this because that's, you always see in the news, when these tragedies occur, oh, well, on the person's Instagram, they have pictures of guns, or they had, what I mean? There's kind of like almost,
signs.
there was almost like some signs of, of it. And so, if we as a community bond together and say, okay, we need to understand that this isn't just a place to post pictures of your food and, or bathroom selfies or whatever, gym selfies. We need to get past that and past the divisive political discourse that occurs on there. We need to move past that now and say this is really affecting our younger population in ways that, we probably didn't imagine 10 years ago,
Right.
but now is occurring, and that, we need to take hold of. But like I said, those are the two main platforms. I mean, there's other ones like Discord and some other ones where like you just message random people and random people can message you. And so, our intention is to, step by step, progressively work on this responsibility, because it's a lot to throw at a parent or a grandparent and be like, here's all the apps that kids possibly use to misuse, and it's a lot, So right now we're focusing on those two, Instagram and TikTok, and there's a lot of information going out about TikTok that it's, of what information is being tracked and being sent where. And that's another thing that they need to keep in mind too, is that, even when setting up their profile, that information is being sent somewhere. So.
Yeah. Do you recommend any other resources to look at in the meantime?
So I have a slide. There's one for Instagram. It's literally their own settings. It's supervising on Instagram. And, it doesn't cost a thing. And it's easy for the parent to set up. and you could track their usage. You could set up daily limits.
Okay.
So a lot of times kids will they'll go to bed, right, but they stay up another 2 hours,
Just on
whatever.
their phone under the
Yeah.
blanket. Yeah.
And you could set up daily usage limits, or you could set up times to take a break, right? So there's some tools even within the programs themselves that that the parent and grandparents can use. That's on the slide.
Okay.
Another thing that that you could do is a lot of times within your own phone plan, there's some apps that your service provider already gives you, some
Yeah.
family plans that do location spotting and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and that you can participate in. Google has a free family monitoring app, and so that one also gives you daily reports of what the child was doing on the phone, and can also give you some additional limitations for the child to use on the phone. And then there's a lot of pay apps. I think I listed one on there called AirDroid. And they're a nominal fee. Usually it's $10 a month or $20 a month. And those ones are, I mean, you could get really intense on them, and even down to tracking the child's microphone on the
Wow.
phone. So on a
Yeah.
phone conversation, it records what the child's microphone is saying. It will show who they were texting, who they were direct messaging. So a lot of these, the ones that are for pay, are very intuitive in terms of monitoring your child's use on social media.
Wow. All right.
We are going to have more information about our campaign at our website, www.ecisd.net. And, we are not only, we look at this as a week as kind of like a launch, like a kickoff,
Yeah.
but it doesn't end at the end of the week. We're going to have a section of the website dedicated to social media responsibility, and we're going to keep adding things and more technology and resources that parents and grandparents and guardians can use.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for all of the information you've shared. I'm sure a lot of parents, grandparents, even kids will find that very useful. And thank you for your time. I know you must be busy.
Absolutely, but this is a very hot topic and
Right.
a very important topic, and one that as a community, if we all work together, we can curb a lot of the things that are scary.
I agree with that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.